Shavua Tov, Mevarach, Happy Hanukkah. We are in chapter 13 of Yevamot, Mishnah Vav. Hamegorish eta isha. One divorces his wife, vehechazira, and then remarries this wife, muteret Yevamot. If that husband then passes away with no children, then there is eligibility there for Yibum, or if they don't want to get married, to the surviving brother for chalitza. Rabbi Eliezer says they cannot get married in Yibum. Now, his reasoning in the Gemara, he says because there was a time when this woman was divorced from the first husband, she was still forbidden to marry the brothers, and there was no concept of Yibum. Yibum did not apply at that time, so there was only an Isser and not a mitzvah. V'chein, the Mishnah continues, also, Hamegorish the Yatoma. One divorces an orphan. Now, recall an orphan girl that we're speaking of in this chapter is she doesn't have a father, and she's getting married rabbinically by her mother or her brother. And then he remarried this girl, muteret liyavam. He then passed away without children. She would be allowed to do yibum with his surviving brothers. Rabbi Eliezer oser. Again, Rabbi Eliezer says it's not allowed. Finally, the Mishnah brings the third case. Ketana, a girl is under bat mitzvah, shehesia aviha. Her father is alive, thank God, and the father is the one who accepts the kiddushin and marries her to the husband. And that is a biblically recognized marriage. V'nit garsha, and then there's a divorce from that biblical marriage. Kiyatoma b'chaya of. This girl is as if she's an orphan. Yisoma is an orphan. Her father's alive, Baruch Hashem, but it's as if she's an orphan during the lifetime of her father, because her father then does not have any rights to marry her again. It's a one-time power that the Torah gives the father. And really, it's a lesson for fathers and for parents everywhere, is you get, really, at the end of the day, you get one shot at raising your kids, and it needs a lot of siyata d'shmaya, it needs a lot of prayers and tefillah and setting a great example, but it really needs a lot of effort because you really get one shot at it. So back to the Mishnah, where this girl has been married on a biblical level, then divorced, hechazira, and now they get remarried, divrei hakol asur leyavam. Everyone agrees, not just Rabbi Eliezer, but everyone agrees she cannot then do yibum. Now the reasoning here is that first marriage through the father was biblically recognized, and now the second marriage, she's still under bat mitzvah. It's only a rabbinic marriage. So she's a widow from a rabbinic marriage, but she has a biblical prohibition from marrying the brother of her deceased husband. So here the rabbis do agree to Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer in the other cases is basically making a rabbinical gezerah, a decree, because we're concerned about mixing it up with this case where there's really a biblical problem. Now, this does assume that the girl is still underage at the time of the second marriage. If she was already bat mitzvah and she was agreeing to it, or she was agreeing to remain married and not do miyun after she comes of age, then that second marriage also becomes a biblically valid marriage, and Yibum would become an option. Let's go on to Zion. Always we should be going to Zion. Shnei achein, there were two brothers, nisuin, both married, l'shtei achayot, two sisters, yetomot ketanot, who were orphans and minors, meaning these are rabbinical level marriages, not through her father. Umet ba'lah shel achat mehen, and one of the husbands of one of these sisters passes away with no children. Taitse mishum achot isha, the other one goes out, meaning goes out to marry someone else with no yibum or no chalitza required. Why? Because she is the sister of, she is the wife's sister. So the surviving brother, we're assuming there's one surviving brother here, and he is married to her sister, so it's the wife's sister, it's an erva, and they cannot do yibum. Now here, both of these marriages are rabbinic level marriages, so we're talking about falling to yibum on a rabbinic level, and we're talking about a rabbinic erva, which knocks out the rabbinic mitzvah. The Mishnah goes on to the next case, v'chen shtei hershot. Also, if these two girls were herish, they were deaf and mute, and back then they didn't have hearing aids, they didn't have effective sign language, it was very hard to communicate, and someone who was really a herish could not speak, could not hear. They did not have the same intellectual capacity of a regular adult, so even if these women are by age adults, they're still considered to be minors for the purpose of marriage, and they can enter into marriage on a rabbinical level. So the chershot, the women who are deaf and mute, it's a rabbinic marriage, no matter what their age, it would be the same as the first case. What about gedola uketana? There were two sisters. One was over bat mitzvah and one was under bat mitzvah. So in effect, the older sister is biblically married while the younger sister is rabbinically married. Metz baila shel katana. If the husband of the younger one passes away with no children, teitze katana mishum achad isha. So the younger girl is exempt from Yibum and Chalitza because she is the wife's sister, with respect to the Yavam, the one surviving brother. But met baila shel gedola. What if the husband of the older woman passes away? That's a biblical marriage. Rabbi Eliezer says, Milomdim et katana, we teach the katana, we encourage her, shetamanbo, that she should do miyun on her husband. Now, miyun, recall, will retroactively erase that marriage. It will be as if the katana was never married to that brother, and that brother would be able to do yibum with the older sister. Rabbi Gamliel disagrees. He says, im me'ona me'ana, if this girl wants to do miyun, you could tell her about the situation, but we don't want to encourage her to make this momentous decision, even though it's a rabbinic marriage. L'maisa, it's her marriage, it's her husband. We don't want to push her in any direction, even if it's to allow her older sister to perform a mitzvah of Yibum. So if she wants to, she wants to. Ve'im love, and if she doesn't want to, she wants to stay with her husband. Tamtim ad shetodgil. We wait until this girl is a gedola. She's already a over bat mitzvah. V'teitze halazu, and the other girl goes out. The older sister goes out to remarry without Yibum or Chalitza, mishum achot isha, because she is the wife's sister. Meaning, once a katana grows up and continues her marriage with her husband, her rabbinical marriage transforms into a biblical marriage once she is bat mitzvah and chooses actively to continue living with her husband. So when she does so, that original marriage becomes biblical, and now it's a biblical erva to marry the sister because it's the wife's sister. So she goes out, as we learned in the very first Mishnah of Yevamot, without any Yibum or Chalitza. Rabbi Yeshua has another approach to this situation. Ilo or oilo al ishto, woe to him about his wife, the younger one, oilo al eshet achiv, and it's not good for him either about the older sister, who was the widow of his deceased brother. Motziat ishto beget, he has to divorce the younger girl with a get, really ending the marriage permanently. Ve'eshet achiv bechalitza, and then he has to give chalitza to the older woman who's the widow of his brother. Now, Rabbi Yeshua's approach here is based on the zika, the obligatory bond that the brother has to the widow, being very strong enough that it's like quasi a bit like a marriage. So now the surviving brother has a rabbinical marriage to the younger sister, but he has this zika, a strong zika, according to Rabbi Yeshua, to the widow, and you can't continue either of those relationships where there are these competing marital bonds. Yashar Kochachem and a Freilich and Chanukah.